This country, under this APC regime, came to become the poverty capital of the world. It became the place where the minimum wage became the miserable wage for workers.
But if you think about Nigeria itself, it's an open prison.
It took too long before people realized that this government is a fraud. We knew because we've always known them to be this.
Now I'm being joined by Omoyele Sowore, who is the presidential candidate AAC. Comrade, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us on today's program. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for bringing me.
All right, Comrade, let me start with, in the spirit of our celebration, Nigerian had the 64th independence celebration just about a week ago. What do you think Nigerians should hold on to in this 64th anniversary?
I don't know what happened to this network. I think the network is an issue.
I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
There you are. All right, okay. You're asking what I think Nigeria should hold on to.
Yes, yes.
Of 64th anniversary of independence. Is that a question?
It is.
There's nothing to hold on to. I'm one of the people. Yes. Yes, I'm one of the organizers of Fearless in October, and my position is that independence has not brought anything good to Nigeria, and that Nigerians should brace up for another independence. So I couldn't be talking to you now about independence. I never thought Nigeria had an independent anything to hold on to. What do you hold on to after 64 years of failure, except failure? And you have no electricity after 64 years of independence, no good roads, your healthcare system is in shambles, your schools are terrible, your government is the worst in the world, your security is non-existent, you don't have potable water after 64 years. What is there to hold on to? And your economic policies have destroyed your people and their businesses and their existence. There's nothing to hold on to.
All right, like you rightly said, you're one of the organizers of the End Bad Governance protest. Now, the first protest held in August, and afterwards, the needs or requirements of the masses were not met. You still went ahead to hold another protest on 1st of October. Of course, I don't know. Would you say the protest achieved its objectivity?
Well, there are so many objectives to a protest. Sometimes it is to get immediate results. But if you know the demands that we put in place, you know that the results will not be immediate. Sometimes it's just to ensure that you use it to force greater consciousness on people, and to tell the government that you do not agree with government and that the people should brace up for more or do more to change objective conditions. So protests serve more than one purpose. Yes, we would have loved to see some of those issues resolved immediately, but we also know the people we are dealing with, that this is going to be a long fight.
I believe you listened to the broadcast of Mr. President on the 64th independence.
No, I didn't. I've said it many times. I did not listen to it. I don't waste my time.
Okay, just in case, he pointed out things that his administration has achieved in the last 1 year. He talked about security, but more interestingly, he talked about organizing a confab where he intends to speak and dialogue with Nigerian youth. Do you think, is that a welcome development to you from Mr. President?
They're confused. Any confab that is talking to youths at this time is just another NAS convention. NAS being the National Association of Nigerian Students. And you know what they do in Abuja when they come for their convention is all pre-planned. The problem of Nigeria is not relative or related to youth alone. You know, the old people, women, men, all of them are affected by these problems. And we have made it very clear that the only conference that can solve Nigeria's problem at this time is a sovereign national conference, a conference whose decisions will not be subject to tinkering by the president or anybody else. And that conference must bring about a brand new constitution for the country and let it pass through a referendum and become the new law and article of faith and association between Nigerian people, between the government and the people governing them. Anything less than that is another jamboree, and we know what this is about already.
All right. Now, what would be your next move, since the needs and requirements of the protest, both the first and second, seem to be unmet at the moment? What is do you intend to continue the protest as long as it's going to take until the federal government yields to the needs of the masses, or do you intend to take a quit?
You know, we don't need to tell you that we're fighters. We keep fighting until we win. Definitely.
Okay, so you're going to keep on with.
Yes, sir.
Hello, can you hear me? Are you still there?
I'm here. Can you hear me too?
All right. So, since you said you didn't listen to the broadcast of President Bola Tinubu, now he talked about having achieved a milestone when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria. I think that was the basic thing he made emphasis on. Would you agree with that?
I think you are the journalist. Did you think the security situation in the country improved? Was it not under Bola Tinubu that a village was wiped out in Yobe in August? That even in Abuja, where you live, people are getting kidnapped on a daily basis. That Boko Haram is stronger, bigger, and better now at overwhelming Nigerians. Is it not the same country that bandits in Zamfara are waxing stronger and even now exhibiting their strength on TikTok, and also asking people to send money to their bank accounts as ransom? Does that look like the country that has a handle around insecurity? I don't think so.
Well, President Bola Tinubu has gone on to say that Nigerians should give him more time, that the policies that are being taken or that are put in place would yield fruit. We are not aware of when, or we are not told when, but he described it as a baby pain. How much more time do you think Nigerians should give Mr. President? And again, is it right, or is it fair rather, to stage a protest on a government that is just barely 2 years in power?
There's no hard and fast rule to protesting. You can protest on the first day of the government coming to power. You can protest anytime you want against the government. That's the right of the citizens. I think, as a matter of fact, it took too long before people realized that this government is a fraud. We knew, because we've always known them to be this. And don't forget that this is not just a fresh government. It's a government that has been in power for more than 8 years. It's the APC government. So when they were coming to power in 2012 was the first time they had a protest. They fought against the PDP from 2012 till they came to power in 2015. So at that time, Jonathan had barely even spent 2 years in government. So what are we talking about?
Okay, do you think Nigerian should give President Bola Tinubu more time? Because according to him, he met a lot of potholes in Nigerian system, and like they said, Rome is not built in a day. So I'm just wondering, how much more time do you think Mr. President should be given, like he has requested for Nigerians to give him more time?
Nigerians have no more time. There's no more time to endure this suffering hardship. You have been giving them more time since 1960. So what have you gained from giving them more time? It's just a ruse. You give them more time, they buy more jets, more expensive cars, they share more palliatives to you that have expired, but they buy very expensive cars as members of the National Assembly. I don't know anybody should be pushing more time at this time when people are dying. How do you give more time when they already have debt? I don't understand, and I think you should check on my Twitter handle this morning. I'm starting to suspect that even you journalists are in on this because you keep asking the same question repeatedly. They need more time. They need more time. You know, how much more time do you people even have?
But that's because that's what he has told Nigerians, that this is like a baby pain, and we are holding him by his words. That's why I'm asking if you think Mr. President should be given more time. That's what he said. We are holding him by his words.
I'm not a government advisor. You know that. So I don't care about whether government needs more time or not. I know we don't have more time on the people on the side of the people.
Hello, comrade, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Let me ask you. You were the presidential candidate of the AAC 2020, the last election. Okay, what would you have done differently to ease or to have prevented this phase Nigerians are into now?
During the election, and this is why it's important that Nigerians ask prospective candidates to campaign during election and to attend debates and to go to town hall meetings and to be everywhere. During the election, I told you guys that removal of fuel subsidy will wipe out the Nigerian economy. I also mentioned that the decision to float the Naira will destroy Nigeria. And these two unfortunate economic policies is why we're where we're today. And I was the only candidate who said I want to remove subsidy and I would not float the Naira. In fact, I said I would revalue the Naira. And here we are. We're asking me what would I have done differently. I said what I would do differently in 2023. And I know that it would have jump-started the economy. We still would have saved more money. We would have had a middle class who are doing well. Small businesses will be flourishing. And our economy will be doing very well by now. What I would have done is to make sure that anybody who was involved in subsidy fraud, which is the cause of this problem, would be taken care of immediately from day one. So there would have been surplus for Nigerians to use in developing their own small businesses. I would have had a lot to work with the country. We would have ensured that all the leakages are blocked. And then I remember when I was saying this during the presidential campaign, journalists were asking me the same tired question. How are you going to achieve it? How are you going to achieve it?
Exactly.
But the people who weren't speaking were, yes.
And that's what I would love you to tell me, how you would have been able to achieve those things to, prevent these lapses or this phase Nigeria is into now. Because from your word, you sound so confident about them all, and we usually hear this not just from you, from every other presidential candidate during election. A lot of promises are being made. So now it's not about saying it, it's not about talking about it. What are the process that you are going to put in place? Hello, comrade, if you are still there, can you hear me? Welcome back. Well, I'm still being joined by Omoyele Sowore. Comrade, if you can hear me, are you there? Sorry, that was the disruption of the network. And I don't know if you got my last question. I said during election, during campaign, presidential candidates come out and tell us a lot of things that they are going to do. Some even look some look so true to be real. So now I'm asking, it's not about saying it. Those things you said you have things to put in place to prevent this phase that Nigeria is in at the moment. The question I asked is, how are you going to do that? It's not about saying them. How are you going to achieve all of that?
There was subsidy in place right before the election and during the election and after the election. The person who removed subsidy, how did he do it? He just stood on a podium and said, subsidy is gone. So I would have stood on the same podium and said, subsidy stays, but we are not allowing the corruption in subsidy. He stood on the podium and said, we're going to float the Naira. I'm going to say, no, we are not floating the Naira. We are going to revalue the Naira. Because there's no reason why the currency of Ghana is 11 Naira, 11 cedis to $1, and Nigeria is 1,655 to $1. What is it that Ghana is producing that we are not producing? Why is it that the value of the Naira is less than that of Beninois CFA, France, CFA? And have you asked yourself that? And why is it that the minimum wage of all these countries and the continent of Africa are higher than that of Nigeria? It is because the people who are managing our economy here don't know anything about economics. They have to wait for the World Bank and the IMF to give them templates to use so that the 200 million people of Nigeria can become the dumping ground for their partners in the multinational sector. So those of us who understand this know that government is not rocket science. Governance is not rocket science, and that you can make life easy for people, and you can plug loopholes, you can fight corruption, and you can introduce policies and ideas, including putting in place 24-hour electricity, which is not difficult to do, because the moment you get that right, you are going to have a lot of businesses thrive. You know, right now, it is the cost of doing business that is one of Nigeria's biggest problems. If you look at the comparison of how much it takes to make Ankara in China and to make it in Kaduna, it's cheaper for a Chinese person to make Ankara in China and sell it to you at a cheaper. Even ship it, they still make profit. But if you make it in Kaduna, you can't, because you have to run your company generate on a diesel. You know how much diesel costs, right? And then you can't find petrol, and you don't have a route upon which to drive your products to the market. The same thing that is happening to agricultural products. And then there's insecurity, so you can't even have food security. And we know that the way to solve these problems have been laid out in our own agenda, which we even made available. You mentioned earlier that some people told you they'll do this, they'll do that. How many of the major candidates did you yourself interview at Kaftan TV? Did you ever interview Tinubu? No.
Because I didn't have the access to, but I interviewed you. Of course, you can ascertain to that.
Because they will never make themselves available, because they have nothing to tell you. Those of us who make ourselves available to you, you don't even pay us attention. And I'm not talking to you as a person. I'm talking about Nigerian journalists. How many interviews did you know Tinubu did? He has a TV station. He can't even afford to go to his own TV station to talk about his own policies. The only thing Nigerians remember from his campaign period is that he was incoherent, bulaba, blue. That's all we know. But the TV stations, even the major TV stations, when they want to hold debates, they will never invite them. When they invite them, they don't want them to be with the people who are sharp. So a lot of this damage are also self-inflicted, and I think it will be part of what we review as we go into the future. That even our media need to do more, so that people who have ideas can get more coverage than people who have none.
All right, let me ask you, Comrade. Our time is fast spent.
And those who have ideas.
The 2027 general election, I don't know. Do you have plans of contesting again? But before then, let's talk about the judicial system. A lot of Nigerians seem not to have hope in the judicial system again because of so many things that have played out. We saw the recent one which played out in the Edo State governorship election. Now during protests, protesters were charged for treason and all of that. So Nigerians seem not to have a huge hope in the judicial system. And I think I listened to one of your interview where you said something similar like that. If we must change the narrative in Nigeria, a lot of persons believe it has to start from the judiciary system. What is your take on that aspect? Do you believe that the Nigerian judiciary system needs to be sanitized?
First question is in 2027. Everywhere needs to be sanitized, not only the judiciary. You can sanitize the judiciary all you want. If you don't sanitize the legislative arm where Pabio is holding sway, you are wasting your time. If you don't sanitize the executive arm where Tinubu is holding sway, you are wasting your time. That is why anybody who is honest and sincere will tell you that Nigeria has reached a breaking point and we need a revolution. I've never stopped saying it. I have been taken to court. I have been charged for treason, charged for treasonable felony. I have nose broken, my family never the buried. The judiciary will help you pour dirt on it. If you like, go and pick this, make it clean. The army will go and pollute it all, not just the judiciary. Of course, I understand what the judiciary is all about because
Hello, comrade, I can barely hear you. Comrade, are you still there?
Me and the court system, we are like revolving door. We go in and out. The judiciary is the only problem of Nigeria. My sister wanted to also say.
Can you hear me? Alright, well, at this point we'll have to let you go. The network is quite frustrating, but we hope to have you some other time.
Nigeria, they use computer. The leaders of Nigeria, they use radio where they turn the knob.